Am I the asshole for criticizing my sister's choice of name for her baby? My sister just had her first child, a girl, and she and her husband chose the name Isis, after the Egyptian goddess. I politely pointed out that the name is also the name of a terrorist organization, and that I thought the kid might get bullied or teases for having that name once she goes to school. My sister totally blew up, accusing me of interfering in her life and saying that her daughter's name was her own choice. I wasn't trying to be rude or judgmental, but now I think that I ought to not have brought it up. After all, it is her kid, not mine. Am I the asshole? Honestly, I'm not sure. I get that the name has a bit of a connotation at the moment, but it has always been a perfectly normal name, and the reason for it being awkward won't last. In 10 years' time, nobody will give a damn. That organization is known as IS or DA. Everyone sucks here in most places anyway. Wouldn't consider the name any worse than Ira, which doesn't seem to get any flack. One thing I've had to learn is timing. She shared the name in a moment of excitement and you responded with, well, but terrorists. I think mentioning it is a good thing. Imagine if they hadn't thought of it, but it's just tricky. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. ISIS is a very traditional name, but you are also right that it is the name of a terror organization at this particular moment. Hopefully not for the entire life of that child though. I think you should just apologize for mentioning it and pair the apology with a gift or taking them out to lunch or something. New parents can be very sensitive about these things, and it's better for you to preserve the relationship than let some negative vibes sit for a long time. Meh, I am a high school assistant principal and we have 2 girls with that name. No one bats an eye or gives them a hard time about it. Not the asshole. Yes, Isis is an old Egyptian goddess that far predates ISIS, but everyone who hears that name is immediately going to think of the terror group. Your sister has to be realistic about that. It might be your sister's choice what to name her kid, but there will be judgment and consequences, and not just to her but her daughter as well. Maybe suggest Iris as another name option. It's similar enough that it might work. Like you were the asshole, you should have brought it up later on, not soon as she announced it, which it seems like. It's a very valid concern though. Even TV shows removed Isis as a name if you've ever watched Archer. But I know people who are named and were bullied and still get annoying comments. Am I the asshole for not paying my boyfriend's household bills when his siblings ask me for it? Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my boyfriend's share of household bills and expecting his siblings to help him now that he's struggling? I, F25, have been dating my boyfriend, M27, for 11 months. He lives with his siblings and I visit regularly, but I don't stay there full-time nor sleep over every night. Recently, his siblings asked me to help pay part of his share of the household bills, like electricity and water, because I've been there often. I told them I'm not comfortable contributing since I'm just visiting and don't live there. I don't use the utilities the way they do, and my boyfriend hasn't asked me to pay anything. Now, they're upset with me, and things are awkward. Here's the thing. My boyfriend recently lost his job and has been going through a tough time. He's always been the one supporting all the household expenses, including food and utilities, for everyone. I've been helping cover his food and other personal needs during this time. I feel like his siblings, especially since they're all working, should step up and help him with the household expenses now that he's struggling. They've benefited from his sacrifices for years, and I just think it's time for them to return the favor. Am I wrong for refusing to pay and expecting them to help him now? Add, I am visiting there after my work not consistent, and 6 p.m. to 12 midnight max, use of electricity maybe the fan. No cooking, no fridge because if we needed to eat I already bought cooked food before going. For the use of water, toilet flush, no showering. Not the asshole, the entitled siblings have approached you because their golden goose has lost his job. It would be more beneficial for them to wind their necks in and actually contribute to the household. Why on earth has your boyfriend paid for all of those expenses? Not the asshole. It's not your responsibility to pay for the bills as you're not living there. His siblings should help him and understand the situation since they are living together. Your boyfriend didn't even ask you, that's so rude of them. Not the asshole. This is a discussion his siblings should be having with him, not you. It's really disrespectful and interfering of them to do this to him, and to you by extension. Your relationship, and any mutually agreed help or responsibilities you have to one another, is between you and your boyfriend. If they think you should contribute, they should talk to your boyfriend about that, and let him have agency over whether or not that's something he thinks is fair or reasonable and the impact it may have on his relationship and life. Piece of advice. Don't visit so often, and definitely don't stay overnight. People who do that tend to impose on others, so they rightfully start trying to get rent at some point. You don't describe this as such, so just stay away. Help your boyfriend get a job, even help him for a little bit, but put a time frame to it. I'll help you with such for the next 2 months while you find another job, and then make sure to stop at the end of that time frame. The reason I say this is because he is not your husband and you aren't engaged. You have no legal or otherwise any obligation to finance your boyfriend out indefinitely. Let him deal with the siblings, but voice to him your opinion. Stay away from drama. Not the asshole. Your BF's siblings are awful. Since when does a visitor have to pay for utilities and household expenses at someone else's house? You don't owe them anything. As for your BF, his siblings took advantage of him when he had income by expecting him to shoulder most of the household costs. What did they do with their money during that time if they weren't equally paying the bills? They need to pay the household bills themselves now, until your boyfriend gets another job. Once he's employed, he and his siblings should create a budget and divide the total cost of household expenses equally among them. They need to be held accountable for contributing their fair share to the household expenses. INFO, how many nights a week do you stay over at your boyfriend's place? What sort of activities, cooking, cleaning, doing dishes, using food on fridge, showering, gaming, working from home, Wi-Fi, etc. do you typically do when you're over? Need this information before can make a judgment. Edited to add, not the asshole. You are over a lot, but no overnights or significant use of the place, water, Wi-Fi, etc. Whether you decide to float a loan to your boyfriend or help support him in other ways is up to you. But his brothers would have the same obligations too. It's a weird ask. Am I the asshole for kicking my BF's mom out of my house? I, 25F, have been with my boyfriend for 3 years now. A few months ago his mom came to the US from India and has been spending the last few months in the home we got together. It all started when I kept finding her rummaging through my clothes on multiple occasions. I don't WFH and she doesn't have a job. Then I started to notice my clothes go missing and I noticed she was slowly throwing my clothes away. I don't make a lot, so it was really upsetting to me to see my clothes in the trash. That's when I put 2 and 2 together. After that I confronted her and asked her to please stop. She claimed the clothes were too revealing for someone who will be a part of her family. They are Lululemon athletic clothes I wear to the gym. I told her I can wear what I want, but that I will refrain from wearing the clothes in front of her. She stopped throwing the clothes out for a while but then started up again, and this time she actually started cutting them apart and throwing them out. I had had enough and got her a hotel room and put all her stuff in there when her and my boyfriend were out one day. Now she is going back to India and my boyfriend is saying he's going to break up with me because I disrespected his mom. He asked me to move out. We both pay half for the rent right now, and I just feel a little guilty. I know it is disrespectful in Indian culture, but am I the asshole? Edit. To clarify, we got a house together but are renting it. It's a lease, not bought the house. Thank your lucky stars she came for a visit and your boyfriend showed his true feelings about your relationship. He will always put his mom and her beliefs ahead of your feelings and will never stand up to her for you. Not the asshole. You caught a glimpse of what life would be like with him if you two got married. Consider it a bullet dodged. Not the asshole, she has no business violating your privacy, much less destroying and trashing your things. Your BF's reaction suggests that is what you will face in the future. He will prioritize his mother over you. Not the asshole, his mother disrespected you. You're better off without him. Make sure you get your share of the house. Edit. You don't have to go anywhere. He's free to leave if he wants. No, your boyfriend is. I wouldn't be fighting for a man who lets his mother destroy your property and speak to you that way. You didn't disrespect his mom, she disrespected you and now so did he. You deserve better. Not the asshole. LMAO, your boyfriend's mother is throwing away clothes you bought with your money, but somehow you get the blame here. Not the asshole, and you dodging a bullet. Run, don't walk, or jog away from this relationship. Am I the asshole for trying to get my neighbors to not block my front door? I, 32F, live in NYC. I recently moved into a small building, 3 stories, 6 apartments in total. My apartment is a ground floor unit. From move-in, a neighbor, 40F and 40M, has been storing their large stroller in front of my front door, which poses problems every time I have to come and go from my apartment. It is also against fire code and explicitly forbidden in the building's leases. The stroller is there every day, unless their kid, 3M, decides he doesn't want to walk. One day when I heard them leaving it there, I introduced myself and politely said them leaving their stroller there was causing me issues and it is against the city's fire code, and asked them to no longer keep their stroller in front of my front door. The 40F neighbor gave me excuses that they live on the 3rd floor, but the 40M neighbor straight up raised his voice at me, while I was holding my infant daughter. The woman said as a compromise she'd fold the stroller when leaving in front of my door. As time went on, the stroller was never folded up and continued to block my door. As it is against fire code and explicitly forbidden in the lease, I decided to reach out to property management for help resolving this issue. I just want to be able to safely come and go from my apartment. The day the property management enforced this on these neighbors, the 40F neighbor rang my doorbell, and proceeded to refuse to speak to me and called her mother. Her mother then berated me on speakerphone and said I should have spoken to them first, ignoring me when I said I did. She then kind of threatened me saying I complained about the wrong people. I was stunned and couldn't believe this was happening. All I could muster was insisting it is against fire code and no one gets to break fire code. I am baffled by this behavior. I found it a bizarre confrontation and I didn't know adults could act this way. I've never had issues with neighbors before. I have a child younger than theirs and empathize with their situation, but their kid is massive and able to walk. They could just have an umbrella stroller like I do. I just wanted access to my front door. Am I the asshole? Too long did not read. Neighbor in small apartment building breaks fire code and blocks my front door and ignores polite personal request to stop. I take it up with building management. The neighbor initiated bizarre confrontation with her mother on speakerphone, making vague threats. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Why didn't you just close your door on these ahs? Just report them again for harassment to property management. Start videoing any interaction with them. Not the asshole. The getting mom on the phone tells you all you need to know about the maturity of a 40-year-old person. Not the asshole. But I would consider telling the property manager you've been threatened. Of cousin that could escalate and make things worse. But you are being bullied. I'd try to get out of the lease and move. Your neighbors are really entitled. No normal person would want to leave their property outside a stranger's door for days on end. Consider reporting them again to building management for the confrontation. This kind of behavior was completely uncalled for. You're much nicer than I would have been. When they didn't comply with the polite request, I would have chucked the stroller outside. I'd stop quoting fire code, to be honest. Even if it wasn't against code, blocking your door every day is just flipping rude. I would tell them that as you've asked them to stop and they haven't, the next time it's in front of your door, you're putting it outside. And then do it.